The difference between us is that I can feel pain.
Sounds like a real boogeyman. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy.
There's someone else in the hotel with us. There's a crazy woman in one of the rooms.
It's got a death curse.
This isn't science. It's more like black magic.
Your specimen has been processed, and we are now ready to begin the test proper.
Hello, my Nato friends, and welcome to a very special edition of Pumpkin Hill Radio. I am Travis Wormwood, and with me as always is my co-host Dawson Trailer.
We're always here.
Oh, already fun one here. Every week we dig into esoteric topics, paranormal mysteries, and true crime. Huh? Dawson, what a better place to begin our true crime journey than your home state of Alaska?
Yeah.
Prepare for that later. Everybody listening, I know it's going to be a little bit different. We've been asked by multiple people to try a true crime episode.
Yeah.
And so this is what that is going to be. I did a ton of research for this. So we're going to see how that all works out. I think it'll be great. Before that, though, you know how this goes. We got to just tell you a little bit about the show. We're on video, so if you're listening on audio, go ahead and check the YouTube or just our socials for daily clips. Tell your friends about us. You can rate us. That really helps. And you can send in your paranormal stories or true crime stories to pumpkinhillradio@gmail.com. Also support our Patreon, patreon.com/pumpkinhillradio. I want to give a shout out to our ghost host this week, Beck, AKC 1977. Nice. Thank you, Beck.
Sick.
At first I was like, Beckak? I think it's Beck, AKC 1977. So thank you very much, Beck. I appreciate that. And if you want your shout out, if somebody else wants a shout out, just sign up for the Patreon. We had all kinds of different tiers, all kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of exclusive videos and audio stuff there. And you can just get involved a little further there. That's it. I don't want to tarry too much on top, though. You know, we got a big one for you today. Horror this week, really quick, Dawson, though. Anything for you?
There's that video, the Art Bell show.
Yeah.
Frankie Caller.
So me and Dawson posted kind of related. I did my Chaos Control Paranormal News, and Dawson did his diaries. The number 3 and 4 both are out now.
Yeah.
Those are kind of like sister series. We talk about the pyramids in both of them. If you're interested in that news, talk about some other stuff, and then we got some comments on Dawson's that was just relating to.
Just helped me out. Well, because the one I was doing, I was talking about like the sky spirals, and I remember it reminded me of like this like radio host calling in about, I don't know if it's exactly the spirals, but it's just like talking about like these alien interdimensional beings coming in, and he's like sobbing frantically. He's like, they're tracking me right now, like and then like the whole radio show gets cut.
Yeah.
And like, that was weird.
And so if you
that's
don't,
never happened.
So if you're listening to this, you should know. But
I'm gonna
Art
put it
Bell,
on the next one. I'll like shout out the guy that's
part of Coast to Coast, right? Coast to
think
Coast
so.
Radio. That's so if you aren't familiar, probably turn this off and go listen to Coast to Coast. And that's not to say don't listen to this, but that's kind of like all paranormal news, all the paranormal stuff is riding on the back of Art Bell and like Coast to Coast and people like him from the early days of radio shows and things like that.
But I listened to that and it was eerie.
Yeah, so like basically Art Bell takes callers or on any subject really, and in this particular episode,
I'll probably like cut it in as like the first part of the next diary.
Yeah,
is just
Dawson's
to, like,
Diaries
let
number
you
5.
know.
Check that out. But it is
shout out.
he takes calls every night, hours at a time. It never goes like off air really, and for some reason after this call, it's like it all got cut. So
it just got cut, and they're like, we're on like a backup system now because like everything got cut.
Which is just eerie as hell.
Yeah. Super weird, especially like the way this guy's talking. They're like, I don't think that was fake. It sounded pretty real.
Yeah. I almost wanted to put the audio here just to so we could listen, but this is a spoiler for Dawson's Diaries. Just go check it out because it is disturbing, and to break it down in some way. I'm also going to guest on Dawson's Diaries at some point. I'll just zoom in. That's what's going on there. Horror this week. I received the Red Temple Oracle cards that I've been building, the divination deck. The first draft of them, I'm still doing some tweaks on them, but it was really cool to get these cards in hand and kind of show them off to people, and I don't know, do some readings with them. Honestly, I was able to kind of start the process of this is how you divinate with them, and I don't know, it seemed to, because I've been able to incorporate their powers into my life beforehand, but now I got them in hand, and I'm like, so that's working. Keep your eyes and ears open for updates on that. There will be a Kickstarter at some point. That's just, I've been saying that forever, but it's gonna happen soon because it's just it's a labor of love and will, and it will be done. I also We did a table read for the movie Night Cook that I'm making with a friend of the show, Andrew Edwards. Yeah. I wrote a story called Night Cook. If you check out Obscura and Worlds Beyond, a collection of strange tales, it's on the Etsy. It's local at Mutiny Information Cafe in downtown Englewood area. If you want to pick a copy up, but it's the first story in there. It's a short story I wrote called Night Cook, and Andrew wrote a script for it, and we found a bunch of really awesome actors from around the greater Denver area. Some of them drove like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to their table reading. They're really into it. It was so cool. Like, okay, everybody is such a good actor that we picked, because there was like a couple different people for each person. Yeah. It wasn't like we got to take this person. We had to like actually choose, which was hard. Yeah. And also, if you are a person that didn't get chosen and you're listening, because I gave you all my cards and everything, I think we did tell you. We put it, like we're hoping to work with you in some other capacity on a future thing. Just like we're not going to ever stop creating. So it's like I think everybody had a certain talent that we saw, and we will use you for a different project 100%. So your name, we got your number in the system, and we were thinking like we might just do like every other month, just like hold auditions, just like vague. We'll just like have them read a script, just like get people in the books, just like to build this like creative culture. Because so again, it was so cool. Then you
don't have to like it's not as hard like finding random people. You're like, all right, we got some people already that can come
that are like into it, right? So we have this really good group already. We all got to meet each other, and like I wrote this like 5 years ago, and to like put like a face to the characters and like get the voice and like, I was just observing. Like I didn't read any of it. I didn't even read like the descriptions or like the interior, like the little the setups. That was somebody else reading that. So I just got to kind of walk around and see, and everybody was like kind of doing the acting with their faces too, and it was just so cool. Like everybody just did such a good job. I'm so excited. We're gonna try to get that done in the next like 2 months. Like once we hit it, we're gonna hit the ground running. So keep your ears and eyes to the skies on that as well. A lot of updates to be announced, but. That was like one of the coolest things, honestly, that's ever happened to me. Was like a story I wrote, just like a whole team was like super excited about it. Wow, it's like a dream, basically, And like, Andrew did a ton of work on that too. He's a director. I'm kind of doing more producing stuff. So, and like, artistic direction. So it's kind of, I'm more of a background, just making sure it all flows, but it's really cool to be in the room for it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And like, they're all like, it's kind of meant to be vague on purpose a little bit, some scenes, so like I was able to explain. They all were like, I was like, do you want to know what's actually happening here? And kind of breaking down how this is like part 2 of like a 4-part larger. It's just a whole thing. I don't want to get into it here, but it was it was a good time. Cool. It was great. It was like we were all there for like 2.5 hours. We ran it back a couple of times. We got that on video too.
Nice.
Yeah. So without further ado, any more horror this week? I got a lot to cover.
Hell yeah!
If you read the title of the episode, and I assume you did, you'd be insane to just let your streaming service just like bring up anything and you're just hearing it. Okay. Even if you read the title, you might not know the true crime event that we're going to be talking about. This is sort of underknown / just like sort of a newer thing. You know what I mean? You got your Ted Bundys and all these that are classics.
Yeah.
And I bet we'll cover them someday. Like just to get the reference in there. Some people like they just aren't that aware of it. But I wanted to start with a little more of a niche one and a pretty grisly one. And with that being said, I did like a ton of research for this. Dawson's going to be more like observing and kind of hearing it with the audience for the first time. So. Feel free to just jump in with whatever you. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's the best way to go about these.
I like it.
Yeah. So, and also, I just want to say, like, warning. This is a true crime one. There is like real death. These are real people, real murders. This is like horrible stuff that happened. I know some of the stuff we talk about is a little more out there, or just like third eye, fucking seventh dimension stuff. This is just like people getting offed, which is a lot, But it also is.
Not just disappeared.
There's also some weird like culty stuff in here. It kind of all like forms into something, right?
Yeah.
You know what I didn't say up top though?
What?
Welcome to the cult of the Star Mother.
Oh baby. Yeah. You're in it.
You're in it just by listening.
You know it or not.
Oh yeah, you're this far. You're definitely
stuck.
So welcome,
aboard.
New listeners, old listeners. I know we're getting new listeners. So what's up? And yeah, sorry, I gotta say it. Welcome to the cult of the Star Mother. Again, these are real people. These are real murders, and also. This guy is not some kind of psycho genius, okay? So many times you want to be like, this is some kind of mastermind. And it's like, some of the things I'll lay out here are pretty intense. There's like some years of planning. So it's like, he had some thoughts about it, but it's like, this is just some dumb shit dude that
Yeah.
couldn't find happiness for himself and took it out on like the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to ever don't
Put
think
like
we're
all of his
framing-
like shit energy
yes
into just like destroying.
That's like the first thing I want to say is
Yeah.
like anytime we cover a true crime, it's not going to be glorifying anything. These are just
No.
dumb assholes that took lives that
Like,
weren't that didn't belong to
you
them.
can
You know,
you can really do a lot of damage if you focus your energy in certain things.
it's
Like
like
we try to focus our energy into like making cool shit.
you'll see,
Some people are like, I'm gonna put my energy, all my time into like hurting and killing people.
and he spends a lot of time trying to
Motherfuckers
figure
do
this
that.
stuff out. So
Real
it's,
motherfuckers do that.
it's like imagine if he just if. So anyway, let's
Strike
get into
them
it.
down. All right.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
get it. Let's talk.
This
What's
is gonna
going on?
get pretty dark. It's
What's
February 1st, 2012, in Anchorage, Alaska. Snow blankets the city in silence. Streetlights flicker over an empty road. In a quiet parking lot on Tudor Road, a small coffee kiosk is about to close for the night. Okay, this is just a little building, a little coffee kiosk. Inside the building, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig is finishing her shift. She's texting her boyfriend. She's thinking about going home. She's ready for the night to be over. She's only been working there for a month. She's closing alone. Okay.
Yeah.
Just before closing, a man walks in, and she doesn't know him, but she sees something's off. Right. The lights go out, and within minutes, Samantha's gone. Okay. At first, no one knows what's happening. She doesn't answer her phone. Her car's still in the parking lot. Police pull the surveillance footage, and what they find turns into a missing persons case and something much, much darker, which we'll dig into. The man on the tape is calm. He's methodical. And by the time the investigators began to piece this together, Samantha is gone. She's beyond reach. She was murdered. What I'm about to explain is basically this case that is it's a modern psychopath. It's a modern mass murderer, serial killer. I know that he thought he was a smart guy, but he just is some dumbass.
Yeah.
But he created tons of terror, and his name is Israel Keys. And that's who we're talking about today. And so that's just a little bit of flavor up top, but I'm going to start kind of at the very beginning now. I actually recall some of the news reports about Samantha Koenig going missing back in high school.
I do remember
because
that.
I was like, that's around the time, it's
Yeah.
2012, 2020. So it's like something that
That name was like, yeah.
yeah,
it was very
yeah. And at that
familiar.
point, they still didn't. They were like, it was being covered. Like they're trying to figure it out still. So like this got tied off pretty recently as far as like the full story. Israel Keys was born in 1978 in a small town in Richmond, Utah, but his life quickly veered. Into what is it? He was raised. So basically, he was raised in this Mormon household that increasingly gravitated towards like extremist ideologies. His parents kind of ended up joining like multiple cults through his life, going more and more into this insane type stuff. Keys was one of 10 children in this family the whole family just wanted to distance themselves from government and mainstream religion. In his childhood, the family left Utah and relocated to a remote plot of land near Colville, Washington. And then they lived completely off the grid in there in a one-room cabin with no electricity or running water. So right now we're kind of building out like his backstory to see how this happened. They built their home. His parents built the home from scavenged wood, and they lived off wild game. They gardened their own food, and they had this strict religious discipline. Very like godly in that way, but like not really. He was homeschooled using Bible-based information and tons of white supremacist educational like material. So not a great start. His reading was limited to scripture and like extremist writing. He's only reading like intense versions of the Bible and like this white supremacist cult stuff, including the Turner Diaries, which is a racist anti-government novel often linked to domestic terrorism. The Keys family initially adhered to Mormonism, but then they're embracing this Christian identity, but then they start attending this church known as the Ark, which is affiliated with this Christian Israel Covenant Church, which sermons were reported to be laced with anti-Semitic and apocalyptic teachings. So at a very early age, he's being indoctrinated with like the worst shit possible. And that's so there's also like a lot of like nature versus nurture thing with serial killers. So it's kind of like trying to build out where this comes from and like who it is.
It's like they're like almost there. You know, living off the grid, that's chill.
You know, half
And,
it's
like,
like great. It's like
they're-
they're growing
it's
their own
like,
food. They
sounds
built their own
nice.
house. They don't
Sounds
want the
nice.
government. Yeah, it's just you start attacking in these like,
But then you go from that too. You go from and like especially like some of those like more radical, like indoctrination kind of stuff. Like once you get like released into the real world, you're gonna go complete psycho.
yeah,
Because you're not even gonna see other people as like real humans.
yeah.
You're gonna see people as like demons.
And so he's in a very isolated community.
Yeah.
There's only a few other children that he can even hang out with. His siblings are kind of all over the place. But he was described by neighbors and peers as cold, intense, and emotionally vacant, which was what you hear for a lot of serial killers. And as we kind of, I also think we'll be able to build out kind of a diagram of like different murderers as we talk about more cases and kind of be able to reflect on people, you know. A lot of the readings that I was doing before this were like comparing him to other people that came before him. But since this is the first time we're talking about any true crime, I don't want to like do a bunch of references to, you know, BTK. It was like someone named the Bind Torture Killer who was like, oh, there's a bunch of people that could kind of be like related, but this is where we're going to start. Let's see. Okay. So as a young boy, he exhibited early signs of psychopathy, cruelty to animals, lack of empathy, and manipulative behavior. If you don't want to hear, okay, for those with that, you probably should turn the episode off if you don't want to hear about like murdering like humans and animals, because I do got to talk about what he did, right? So one of the more well-documented behaviors with Keyes was that he took a cat and like zip tied it to a tree and took a pellet gun and like just shot it in the stomach a bunch of times and like just watched it like flail and die. And I don't know, like, you know, like this is like a lot of that. In another account, he strangled the cat to death with his bare hands. Basically these like
classic.
They weren't impulsive acts though. Even at that point, they seemed like they may have been like a little more planned. You know what I mean? It's like he's kind of has this thing to him, and he's excited about it. He gets like pleasure out of it, even at this point from the reading, right? He reportedly threatened another child, saying he would skin them alive if they told anybody what they had seen when he took them out to like see the cat stuff.
And
that's
cool.
Yeah,
it's a cool kid.
So we get this early cruelty combined with like this isolation and this insane ideology. It kind of starts laying the foundation for this like descent into
Kid maybe should have stayed off grid.
Yeah,
That's the kind of kid you just keep in the woods.
Yeah.
Hope no one comes by.
Israel began to pull away from his own family, no longer participating in church. He started rejecting faith and created this this like psychological distance from this fear-driven world of his upbringing, really. His dad dropped off pretty quick, and he was just raised by his mother. And she taught him a lot of this stuff, which isn't great. You know, so that's where the nurture comes in. It's like, oh, bad mom too. No, you can't. You know, I mean, moms will do what moms do. And it's up to the person to do what the person does. Like, you know, you can't.
I mean, moms are always going to support their baby.
You can't. Yeah, and it's like you can't point at her and say that it all came from her, but it didn't help. I think some of this stuff.
There's some responsibility for sure.
So, as Keyes entered his adolescence, he started like losing grip from the dogma. These teachings. He starts being like, oh, religion kind of sucks. Or like he kind of does this thing with it. He starts rejecting this like strict religious stuff, and he stopped attending churches. He pulled away from the Christian identity, and he started calling himself an atheist pretty early on. It wasn't like a spiritual rebellion though. It was kind of like a psychological break, is what it seems like. He's like creating like a void in himself that he then needs to fill with like violent fantasies, which then become violent realities for him.
When you're like when you get indoctrinated like that too, and then you like come to the realization that like maybe you're being kind of like indoctrinated and lied to, you're gonna reject all of it, and then you're kind of just an empty vessel. And if you're like already a psycho,
because it's like
you're
how many
already a psycho,
people listening were raised Christian and then went like kind of atheist when they were like 12. Probably like everybody. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's like what happened. That's definitely what happened to like me. But it like that happened to like everybody. But at no point was I like, oh, and murder. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can take one without the other. And like even then, it's like he's using atheism as like a crutch. He's like, it's funny, like because I did it. like I remember wearing a shirt. Like I had this black long sleeve tee that just said atheist on it in like white, and it was just goofy. I remember wearing it to high school a bunch just to like be a I don't know, I'm just a bitch about stuff. I don't know. It's such like a cringy part of my life now at this point. But it's like, you know, just like trying to gain some identity.
When you come full circle on it all.
He's the kind of guy that would like, he'd be having those same shirts probably.
Oh,
he'd be having like, just like, not to like point anything anywhere. I'm not a murderer.
No.
But I'm like, I see like the tiniest bit of like, hey, he's wearing the same.
That kind of mental space.
Like I'm seeing it. Yeah, he's
this would like edgy, like I need to be all edgy. And...
Yeah, because he was born in what, 78.
Yeah.
So it kind of, he's, you know, not in like 1990, he's like 12. You know what I mean? It's kind of like anytime earlier than that in religion and Christianity in all of America is still so prevalent that it might be less likely to like break out of that. Yeah. But he's kind of done that.
It's like the satanic panic was happening too. So it's like if you're gonna rebel against, you're gonna get like real dark. You know. And like you know, if you're a psycho, you're also just I feel like if you're like just like a psychopath, like actually. You're going to reject that stuff and, like, put yourself up at this thing. So you're going to, like, play this God role where you're like, I'm free to, like, take lives. I can do that. I'm basically the most powerful thing out here. Most important thing, you know what I mean? It's like that, like, weird psychopath mindset of, like, not even having, like, the ability to understand other people's, like, feelings or emotions that are, like, that they're, like, real.
Yeah. No.
Even,
he's like, at this point, I feel like he doesn't think anybody else is like, a real thing, right? Yeah.
Or like they're all like beneath him, and he's like, you know, they're all that cat. Like I can just do whatever I want to them.
At this point, his family moves again. This time from Washington to Oregon, and he begins crafting an identity that revolves around control, domination, and cruelty. His childhood already had been planting the seeds, right? You know, the abuse and the killing of animals, the isolation and the lack of empathy, and like telling the kid he's gonna skin him alive.
Yeah.
It's like a heavy thing for like a little kid to say to another kid in like all seriousness.
Yeah, like showing you dead animals that he mutilated.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
At this point, he developed a fascination with serial killers. So he's looking at Ted Bundy in particular as like a figure of reverence.
Yeah. Thinks he's really cool.
We'll do a full Ted Bundy episode, but that's like one of the most, there's been so many docs on it. We know about him. Wisconsin guy. You know, just like us.
Hey, a lot of them out there.
All of them, all the best ones come from Wisco. Yeah. He developed this fascination with serial killers. He wasn't an ordinary true crime fan. You know, he's not like us. He wasn't interested in like the psychology so much as like how they operated and how he could do better than them. You know, because a lot of people listen to true crime and they just like, it's interesting to hear about. That's why we're presenting it, because it is interesting.
Freaky.
He's like,
that's weird. It's crazy people can do that.
Yeah.
He's like, I can do better. It's like, you know, it's like the big fat lazy like sports dad is like, oh, you should have ran harder. You know? Yeah. That running back should have tried harder. It's like, man, what are you're drinking beers on the couch. What are you talking about? Eating cheese.
Fucking armchair. Fucking.
You know what I mean? It's like that kind of like mindset.
But he treated this as like academic research. This like learning from their mistakes, taking notes on what got them caught, how they stalked their victims. You know, at this point, like there's been like, you know, early 90s kind of stuff like that up to the 2000s. Like you can kind of start actually doing that research a little bit easier. You know, internet's just starting to come out. Not that there's a ton of stuff there yet, but I mean, like books have come out on it. The Bundys and the all these people from, you know, the 60s to the 80s. They've laid their tracks, and at this point they were able to, you know, there was like some like unsolved mysteries reports, some of this stuff. You know, it's like been in the culture, so he's able to actually study it, right? He would even like use some of the same methods and as them, but he learned like that these other serial killers, they would repeat the exact same thing again and again. They would leave behind DNA. You know, at this point we can start tracking DNA stuff a little bit easier. So he became kind of this careful student and started building sort of a manifesto in his mind that is that would kind of define who he is and how he would take his crimes. Again, this guy's like a little bitch. And one thing noted through the whole thing is that he like loves nu metal. He's been in some of the like other things I was listening to and reading. He's just called like the nu metal killer. He just and you know, you can kind of like feel that. I love new metal, but it's like you can see how like this is just some edgelord dumbass, just like
just some cringe fucking dickhead.
Like at 20 years old, Keyes enlists. Okay, so he's like anti-government as hell. He's like anti all this stuff. He's trying to like become this outcast, right? He's trying to.
Yeah.
So his idea at 20 years old, this is how dumb he is. He's like, here's how I can fight the man, is he joins the U.S., the army. He joins the United States Army.
Well,
he joins the machine.
That's like the thing is, I think a lot of these kind of guys, they know that that's like a pretty like good resource for like learning how to like do like military like operations and like the training basically. You get free training.
But this was before 2001, and actually he got out of it in 2001. So from 98 to 2001, there wasn't a ton of war going on.
No, it was kind of building up for 9/11.
Yeah, but it's like on like in the average American's eyes, you don't even really see that. You're like just coming off the Cold War, like we just stopped hiding under our like desks at school, like from like bomb
right. It's pretty chill at this point.
That kind of stuff, like. So, I don't know. That's kind of goofy. It's like you enlist, and it's like, well, you're not gonna like go off to like murder somebody right away. It's like you're just well, you will get the training, right? He was stationed at Fort Lewis in Washington State, Fort Hood in Texas, and overseas in Egypt for a while. His time was basically uneventful in them. Yeah. And his fellow soldiers described him as competent but reserved. He was friendly but never close to anyone, and he at this point he started drinking heavily and started listening to ICP and Slipknot.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Posse. I love Slipknot.
That was big too.
It was. I actually just made like a post on Threads like a week ago. I was like, I haven't met that many juggalos recently, and I'm like, if any juggalos are out there, what's up?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that right now. What's up to it? Yeah,
juggalos, juggalettes.
I mean, I've done a lot of study into the culture of that, and it's fucking
it goes deep.
Some of it's pretty interesting, and it's like if you stay on the lighter side, it's every kind of culture like that has like an underbelly where it's like gruesome, but it's like a lot of it is not meant to be like
just
that.
Cool, chill guys,
and a lot of like, who are the two? Like, what are their names? I forget their names of the two guys in ICP, but they've come out more recently to kind of like. Not necessarily backtrack, but just kind of like re-explain what they actually are meaning and stuff. And it's more like, and also I know they were like super like homophobic and shit at one point, and they kind of have come back to like undo that. Cause like
it was
but they have like
it was the late 90s.
They have like children now, and it's like they're not, you know what I mean? So they're trying to undo it, So but at this point he's listening to fucking it's like ICP, Slipknot. He took pride in being able to outwork others as well. Right. He's just a typical loner, typical like try-hard loner, like asshole. With And at that point, like people his soldier comrades, whatever people, they maybe don't call him comrades. It's more of a Russian thing. Yeah. Well, they didn't really see the impression of violence in him at this point. He was just reserved, right?
Yeah.
But even during that service, he had fantasies, and they were progressing at that point. There was in a chilling post-arrest confession, and I listened to like 6 hours of confession tapes, and a lot of them is him just like sitting there, just like, doop, 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 doop.
Yeah.
It's like it's so like
that's all he's got in his brain.
It's so it's not like he's sitting there. He'll just it's so goofy.
It's like the scariest thing. It's like that like kind of upbeat music and like a murder scene. It's like
what? He in a post-arrest confession, Keyes admitted that during this period he had committed his first major crime. I will say right now, 3 to 4 murders confirmed on him. He confessed to at least 11 that we just haven't been able to place. We have some like, it would be insane like odds if he didn't do this one because he was like there and these things happened, which we'll get into a little bit later. But we have 3 on the books, 4 most likely, and then actually probably 11 or more. I think maybe it's just the flavor of our podcast to just say he probably did 11, but also like what I read was like the way he plans his stuff, the way he goes about doing stuff. It seems like, we just don't have all the victims on this thing yet, which is sad. But so he admitted that during this time he may have murdered somebody. He claimed that while living in Oregon, he abducted a young woman who had been tubing alone on a remote section of the Duchess of the Deuce River. He described tying her up, dragging her into the woods, sexually assaulting her over the course of several hours, and he fully intended on murdering her, but in the end he didn't. He let her go. The victim was never identified, so this is something that he like admitted to, but there was no report definitively connecting to this event, so the FBI has not been able to guarantee the credibility of it. But again, and it's hard, you'll see sometimes like at the end of their life when they're just like made to confess all their stuff, they'll just start. Some people will just start making stuff up.
Well, especially a dude that like wants to like thinks he's better than everybody. He probably wants to get known for like the guy did all this,
right? Even at that point though,
you'll never like find the evidence for it kind of stuff, There
was murders at that point though that already had confessed to like 20 to 40. People are like putting up huge numbers, at least in the confession. So it's like a part of me is like, since he did so much research on all of them, it's like I feel like he would have said like a bigger number.
Yeah, right.
11. It's just like it's not like even. It feels like it's just I don't know. I don't know though. We can get into all that a little bit later about who these people are. This failed murder became kind of a turning point for him, though. In Key's own words, it taught him that he would never again allow someone to live who had seen his face or heard his voice during an attack. Okay, it started to reinforce this growing belief that murder required not just the opportunity, but preparation, method, and restraint. And then from that moment on, Israel Keyes was no longer experimenting. He was doing this stuff. He was laying the foundation for this calculated, methodical killing, and a life that he believed he could control completely. So he I don't know, like the scariest thing for me, not the scariest one, like you have like a dream where you ever murder somebody. Mm-hmm. It's so nerve-wracking, and like you're like
the guilt,
the guilt, and then it's just like you're not gonna be able to hide it. You're not gonna like. It's just like you think you're just like, I don't know. Imagining just like sitting at home every day knowing that you did it, and like I get like if the guilt isn't eating you alive, which I wouldn't for him because he's just numb to it. But like the
any car that drives by,
yes, like any time anybody knocks,
like car behind you,
it would drive you insane. It would drive you insane.
Yeah, you see a cop come into like a coffee shop, you're sitting there and you're like, oh god, they fucking found me.
After leaving the army in 2001, good year. Israel Keyes didn't spiral. He started to basically all these veterans, kind of unlike these veterans that would come back from this, he like didn't seem to be like at all like PTSD'd. Whatever. This is like post 9/11 kind of that area. It's like people were kind of starting to. There's something going on at this point in the East, right? So he came back just like still just numb and weird. It didn't seem like it changed him at all, right? At this point, he began meticulously crafting this life that would enable him to kill while remaining completely undetected. At this point, he settles in Alaska. I think at one point I said he was born there. He wasn't. He settles there though.
Yeah.
I think I said you were born there.
I was born there.
To be clear.
Yeah.
Okay, just to all the listeners, I'm not wrong. Okay.
Alaska's a good spot. Yeah. Pretty fast.
So he settles in Alaska at from 78 to I think he's like 24 then. Is that the right math?
Sounds right to me.
He settles in Alaska, and he builds a pretty respectable outward identity at this point. He started a small business, Keyes Construction, and which allows him to work for himself and maintain flexible hours. Mm-hmm. He also maintains he maintains and lives with a long-term girlfriend that actually helped raise their daughter. He has a kid. Yeah. This murderer has a kid, which,
fuck.
Imagine like your parent being a murderer, and not only that, you wouldn't know they were a murderer until like you were grown up and they got caught finally.
Yeah.
So like the whole time you're being raised, he's
raised.
Also
We got a dad who's gone this weekend for work or something.
Yeah, and we'll get into how insane like he gets with the movement around the country for that. But yeah, just imagine that. To neighbors and clients, he was quiet, polite, and professional. And basically he just tried to keep quiet. Nothing about him screamed danger at that point up in Alaska. But beneath the surface, Keyes was still honing his methods. He never stopped like researching this stuff. He was never impulsive about anything. He was not erratic. He prided himself on being the antithesis of a sloppy, emotionally driven killer that he had studied. So he's just like trying to be this other thing, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to learn from their mistakes. Like I said, like people like Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy, Dennis Rader. If these names are familiar, we will get these Keyes like took in all their stories and found the flaws in them, right? and resolved to become something more than just this terrifying force. He wanted to be this like methodical like predator with no clear profile. He got like no anchors to like region or pattern. Something completely different and like insane on all levels. Case. Yes.
He's trying to like beat the like investigators.
And so
outsmart
the
detectives,
yes. So at this point,
dumbass.
A little after 2001, he begins forming what he calls kill kits, which are these sealed 5-gallon buckets filled with everything that he would need to like commit murders and then cover it up. So he creates these things that are full of weapons. Usually you'd have a .22 Ruger pistol or a knife, zip ties, duct tape, a rope. There's some cash and burner phones, disguises or masks, garbage bags, gloves, and tarps, obviously for the disposal, and Drano. Which, if you don't know, I mean, it's like, so Drano can eat through, I mean, you pour it in your drain to eat through like hair, like, I don't know, like
slime, scum, everything.
Like, so it can.
It's gonna take care of some.
It won't just like dissolve everything, but that combined with some other methods, basically, like,
it's gonna make it unrecognizable if it sits for like a week.
Yes. If he throws all that in a bag, goes to
like
different parts of the country to drop different parts off. So he buried these kits in remote locations. Okay, that's insane, right? So this is So he's at this point he has these kits, and by the way, I think we've only found like 3 of them, and he said that there was at least like 10 or something. Like there's like still some that are just out there. I've seen pictures of them. They're these like, it is goofy because they were these bright orange buckets, but they were usually like in caves, like with like rocks and shit on top of them,
buried under
dirt. But yeah, he's like
just like those like construction like Home Depot buckets.
Basically that's what it was.
That's what I'm imagining.
But he built these kits and took them to all these different parts of the country and just like dropped them off there. He buried these kits in remote locations all over the U.S. from Vermont, New York, Washington, Wyoming, other places that we just don't know yet. But those places I just named are not close to each other. He was literally driving around the entire country, flying around the entire country to do this. He also did this years before he would use them.
Yeah.
Like years. Like he's setting this up years in advance, which is why I had to say like, there's some parts of it that's like, okay, he's like thinking about this, but he's not like a mastermind. This isn't like,
I mean, he got caught.
And also like, I just want to frame it. I'm not trying to.
That's the thing. I don't know the term like genius and like mastermind like the average person, if they just like put their energy into like a single thing, it's that you can you'll figure that out. Like it's not that hard.
It isn't. It's mostly just
like there's
driving.
smarter dudes out there that have not been found.
No, there's the smarter ones haven't been found. You're right. No, you're right. But it's a lot of it is just like it's not. He's just driving to different parts of the country with this stuff, and like it is like to like plan it years in advance is one thing, but it's like if he's been developing this personality since he was a child, then he like knows how to be at least a little bit patient with it. Like his whole thing is to not like be impulsive like some of the other people he was studying. Right.
It's like that overcorrection, which it seems like it's being smart, which like he probably thought it was, and it like almost is, but it's like I don't know. You just planning isn't necessarily smart. You know what I mean? Like
no. On some occasions, he would fly into a city, rent a car, drive hundreds or thousands of miles to retrieve one of the kill kits. Yeah. So like just to cover all tracks.
Which like seems like a good waste of time. Honestly.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it's just like you're just wasting time. And so then he would scout for targets, often opportunistically, with no specific person in mind. So that's like he's not looking for a specific motive, because that's how you do get caught as well. After the killing, he would vanish, driving back to a major airport, flying home, and returning to his life in Anchorage as if nothing happened. So that's like he is, until the very end, he is not doing it close to home. And that's where a lot of murderers get it wrong, is like they're doing it in their own fucking backyard, which that can encompass it like at least like 100-mile like radius, right? But he's like he's doing this tricky thing where he's like he's from Alaska, he's flying to like New York, driving to like fucking Pennsylvania, picking up a bucket there, then driving to like Montana to do the kill, and then he's like dissolving the body, dropping that into like 6 different states, and then he's flying back to Alaska, that kind of stuff. So it's like there's this, right? He would after the killing, he would. Okay, let's see this. The strategy served multiple purposes. It eliminated the need for purchasing to purchase incriminating materials in the moment, so he'd have all this stuff years in advance. Not as many receipts to track. It would give him the tools just to act at will, basically, just by having these caches in like multiple different places, and it removed like geographic consistency, like we were just saying. So that's a hallmark that law enforcement uses to track serial killers would be that regional geographic consistency, right? It's just so hard to track. If it's like, okay, bodies are popping up all over the U.S., it's like those are probably to them it's like those are likely different killers or something.
It's not related. It's hard to like relate those.
He also just liked with his like fantasies. He also just liked the idea of like, okay, anywhere I am in the whole country, I can do this. Come on, dude. It's just it's just some dumbassery, right? Just to like have that like thrill in his pocket at all times. He maintained a strict compartmentalization of his entire life. He didn't drink or party excessively. He paid his bills. He raised his daughter. Like again, he's got a kid this whole time, which is like, he routinely. He also would routinely watch bondage and rape pornography, frequented true crime forums, and fantasizes about torture. He'd go camping and fishing alone for days at a time and under the guise of work, and then these trips would become reconnaissances or like a prelude to murders, basically. Yeah. So one thing he did, dude, you'd like this. He went fishing almost every time he went scouting.
Well, that makes sense.
He'd generally go fishing during these times.
Yeah.
You like
That's
that?
Same thing, yeah.
Dawson likes fishing. He's from Alaska.
Yeah. Hey.
Putting something together.
Yeah, watch out.
The hell, man. So there were these warning signs, but nothing was actionable, right? You'd find minor brushes with law enforcement here and there. There was a DUI in Oregon. There was some traffic violations, but without like a true criminal record that would indicate like the scope of what he's doing here.
Yeah. It's
the
pretty
FBI,
average stuff, honestly.
Yeah, later on, the FBI acknowledged that Keyes was one of the most careful killers they ever encountered. Careful is not the same thing as smart.
I think careful is a better way to describe it.
Yes.
Than like genius.
Yes. Careful is fine. Smart is nowhere near.
There's evil geniuses out there for sure, but I don't think he's that.
Yeah. Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah.
Eggman.
Yeah.
Well, that's an evil genius.
Dr. Evil.
So it was at this precision and secrecy that enabled him to murder at least 11 people across the U.S., right? Perhaps many more also. Like, it's hard to really say with all these guys. The names of most of the victims remain unknown. His ability to disappear and act without pattern and use this like logistics, it was like a uniquely dangerous predatory thing. He is unlike and very. That is why it's interesting, at least, is because this isn't like a cookie cutter thing. He didn't kill for sex, revenge, or hatred. He killed for the act of killing.
Yeah.
Okay. He did
for the sport.
Usually rape. He did usually do like some hateful acts afterward, but it was for control and for that like the ritual of it. And just for like the knowledge that he could.
Being like, I can get away with
this.
Yeah,
I can do this.
I can do anything I want. I can do anything I want.
In June of 2011, Israel Keyes deviated from his usual pattern and did what would finally link him to double murder years later. This is the abduction and killing of Bill and Lorraine Courier from Essex, Vermont. The crime was pretty like simple. It was just like it also marked the beginning of his unraveling. So years earlier, Keyes had buried a kill kit in Burlington, Vermont. Okay, it was like he's already got something there. Yeah. Years earlier. And it included duct tape, guns, zip ties, Drano, cash, other tools for abduction, specifically. But he'd hidden it in the woods beside a hiking trail before returning to Alaska. And then by the time he came back to Vermont in 2011, that cache had been undisturbed for a full 2 years. And also, just like side note on those, like people have said that we haven't found all these, which is it's probably likely there's still some sitting out there. But I bet a few have been found, and it's like, it's kind of like there's a type of person that would 100% like call the police immediately when they find this. But there's another kind of person
I don't think
I'm
one of those guys though.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you just found like a free gun. There's like,
I'd maybe like report the gun. Be like, I found this gun out here, but I'm keeping that cash.
Yeah, keeping the cash.
Keeping a knife.
That's what I'm. There's like a certain type of person that like
weapons. I would like maybe be suspicious because it'd be like, this might have killed someone.
Yeah. No, it's very like, I wouldn't say anybody should.
But there's like probably people that like wouldn't even think that. They'd be like, whoa, nice.
Yeah, nice.
I'm taking this.
Free gun.
Sweet.
Which like, that's just like I don't know, just to like go sell it at like a pawn shop or
sweet.
something. But like, there,
Yeah,
I
no,
think
for
that
real,
it's possible.
Or you just
that
have a
it's-
free gun, dude. Let's go
Yeah.
shoot this and fucking hang out.
Yeah, and how scary is that too? Though, just like they're just sort of these like kill kits around, and it's like
Yeah.
even if like he didn't like get back to him, and even if they haven't been found yet, what if someone just like I don't know, crime of opportunity, just like finds
you're
it
like,
in
find
the
it,
right
you're like-
moment? They're like,
We can go use this and then come back, bring it back, put it back in the kit, and just like leave it.
yeah, bizarre,
Or move it somewhere else, you know?
At
The gun wouldn't be like in your name, you know, it's gonna be in like someone else's
Mhm.
name.
Yeah, I don't know if it was.
Which also,
if, like,
yeah.
The vein was like stretched off or whatever. You know
I
what mean?
imagine if he's gonna be careful.
Yeah,
Or he's a dumbass.
Or is it dumb? I mean, yeah. So
then you can just find it and be like, oh, this gun is this guy's.
in Vermont now, he didn't have this like the victim in mind, as he really never did. It was more about where, right? So he's like, I got the kill kit in Vermont. He selected these targets based on the accessibility and isolation of their homes. In the case of the Couriers, he picked them because they were a middle-aged couple who lived in a modest house on a quiet street. They had no kids, no dogs, and no attached neighbors. So it's basically perfect for him. Which you know, if you are not neighborly, just go say hi to your people. So you gotta like have somebody around you that
If they don't see you for like weeks, they'll come check on you. Or
Yeah,
like, you know, if
yeah.
they like see some suspicious stuff, they're like,
it's
hey,
really important to
give you a
have
call.
just somebody. You know, the worst thing is when
community
like
is very valuable.
yeah, like when like police do like check-ins on people after like they finally get a call after like 3 months, and it's like the body's been decomposing. For
Well, I've like
fucking-
heard that too, where people are like, yeah, I started smelling this terrible smell in my apartment, and it turns out the dude that lived above me was like completely rotted away.
It's like nobody checked on him for how long?
Yeah, he's like, no one. Usually I heard him moving around, but
Build up that community for both so that nobody murders you or so people check on you, but also so that you don't become the psychopath like isolated
that's
nothing. You know what I mean? It is important.
having communities like it's bigger than anything.
and
man.
I like- I
not
still-
online communities. Great guys, we love you.
Yeah,
but
Colt, you can call us if you think if you need
call
us
us,
to do a
come hang
check-in.
out, you
We'll
know?
do a check-in on whoever.
we'll
you
hang
need.
out. We'll get a fucking party. We'll
If
throw
you
a
think
party.
someone you know has been murdered, just
But-
let us know. We'll go check on them.
We'll go check on them. We'll
No,
knock
but
on
yeah,
the door.
it's like-
you
and
know what I
that's-
mean, like having like that, like those people, like even if you're not like close to your family, like having family that are like close enough, you know, or like some friends, like choose your own family. That's your friends.
And everybody like struggles with, especially like after COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Well, this
it's
day
a
and age,
struggle
like,
to. Yeah, you're only like
Digital day
yeah.
day and age, like everyone's online. It's kind of hard, but man, it's important. Just talk to people, be friendly. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you
Be
know,
nice. Like have people that like care about you.
yeah. Why don't you just
you're nice
go
to any- if
bake
you're-
like some bread and give it to your neighbor?
If you do that, like that person automatically cares about you a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's a test too, because it's like that they'll either like eat it thinking they're gonna get poisoned and then they won't be poisoned. That's kind of nice.
Thanks.
Or
That
it's
guy's
just
a
like
good
a nice
person.
gesture and they're gonna toss it or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like a
right.
world where it's like I'm not gonna have that, but I think it's
nice. They're nice.
yeah, right.
Oh, that was weird,
Community is important,
but
right?
they're nice. I've never like hated someone for giving me something cool or like anything. Even if I didn't want it, I'm like, nice, thanks. We're homies now.
Late at night, Keys broke into their garage. This is the Couriers. What's their
old
names
couple.
again? I just want to make sure I get their name right because I do want. The other thing is like you want the names to be of the victims to be important too. So many of these things you're like, it's the murder. It's like the people that died had full lives. So Bill and Lorraine Courier. What's up, guys?
They're probably so nice.
I bet they didn't have any kids. They just like were just
They were
doing their
just
own thing and
peacefully
like quiet.
living probably their dream.
Yeah.
Just
No
on their
kids,
own.
double income.
Yeah.
No
in the middle
kids,
of
double
nowhere,
income.
it's just them two. They're just
No
hanging
animals. They
out.
can probably go on vacations and stuff
They're
whenever
probably
they want.
best friends
yeah.
too. Just
Yeah,
hanging
dude.
out in the woods, like
Oh,
me
man.
and my wife, me
Yeah.
and my lady, my old bag, you know.
Yeah. Need my old
Me-
bag.
me my old bag of bones.
Yeah, Bill probably was saying that to Lorraine.
Yeah, fuck.
So late at night, Keys broke into their garage, cut the phone line, and used a crowbar to break into their house. He bound the couple with zip ties and forced them into their own car. He drove them to an abandoned farmhouse and that he had already scouted out. There, the horrors began to escalate. Keys separated the couple out, which is like, that's like the. Okay, like being in that kind of situation with like a spouse or a loved one or like just a friend or anything would be just so horrible. To like, you know, it's like not only are you getting like this horrible, it's like just seeing that happen.
Like
But,
knowing
like,
it's happening to like your best friend.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like, is
You're
it kind of like,
powerless, you know.
well, it's like in Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of like the Holocaust where they separate like the men and the women and the
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Like that's so like that's just the saddest thing. You're just like seeing it's like we're never gonna see each other again, are we? Yeah, that's just like the worst possible
Wow.
thing to be like to like hear their screams or whatever. in
Yeah,
the
and like the
background.
shit that this dude's probably saying to him.
Yeah, guys, this is
Just to
dark.
make it
So
worse.
yeah, so
We've all seen horror movies.
he
and this
separated
is just
he separated the
real.
couple. He took Bill Courier to the basement and beat him to death with a shovel. Then he returned upstairs to Lorraine, raped her, and then strangled her with a rope. Throughout all this, Keyes was essentially calm and efficient without remorse. At least in his interviews later, he didn't show any remorse for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Later, he actually described this as one of his favorite murders, quote unquote favorite. Though he also expressed the frustration at how chaotic it became. The Couriers had resisted, obviously, which disrupted his fantasy of total control. Right? So, like,
Fucker, man.
yeah. Which probably then spurred him to be like,
I hate
even
this
more.
guy.
Yeah, I hate this guy. Israel Keyes sucks.
Yeah.
Just sucks.
This is a special place in the fucking pits of hell for
Yeah.
a guy like that, man.
Not the cool
Jeez.
parts of hell with all the cool guitar players.
No, like the bad.
Yeah. Mm.
Now we're like the cool, like, Slayer guys
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
You know?
Huh. So that resistance also sort of excited him though, and it gave him this rush that he hadn't felt before, and like that intensity and adrenaline kind of becomes something that he would chase. You know, it's like he likes the control, but also it's like things being out of control kind of feels nice too, right? After the murders, he attempted to clean up the scene, but the farmhouse was eventually demolished. Okay, before the bodies were discovered. Actually, when they like in post, like they talked to the construction people, like taking down the house, and it's like they thought it was like probably just like a dead cat or something they were smelling.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't have any like reason
I mean,
to think
there's
it was a
probably,
murder,
yeah,
but
any
it's like,
kind of dead.
but it's somewhere in the rubble.
I've been in old abandoned barns, and there's smells in there.
Yeah.
Dead birds, dead cats,
Yeah.
fox, you know, corpse from like a coyote killing something.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I think as a construction worker, if you're like not like a murder investigator, if you smell something like that, you're almost always
No,
gonna try to like.
Especially doing demolition, you probably smell fucked up shit all the time.
Yeah.
And
You're like, it's
yeah,
probably nothing. It's gotta be nothing.
This abandoned barn.
If I go looking for every dead body I smell.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah. No, exactly.
It was
Yeah.
only after these murders actually could have remained a mystery, but it's only after his final arrest that he led investigators to the general area where the remains were then. They weren't actually even recovered, but it's just like
They put
the
it together.
circumstances were all there. Yeah. Those murders changed something in Keyes. Obviously, it was no longer about that. It wasn't enough to kill anonymously across the country. He wanted a challenge. He liked that resistance. He wanted to feel the power of killing close to home, okay? Where the risk was the highest.
Classic fucking mistakes.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah. He starts to do what he was training himself to not do because
It's
the
trap of the serial killer.
It's, yeah, the
It's
reward.
where they all went, you know?
He had this reward in his mind, and he thought it would be greater. That thrill.
Yeah,
he's
he's
like,
like,
I know how to heighten this. Which like some people do that by like jumping off like a cliff with with those like flying squirrel suits.
Like, I'm going to run a marathon.
Yeah, there's ways to like chase this sort
I'm
of
going to start going to
feeling.
the gym.
And I don't think it's the exact same
Put some
feeling, but I
muscle.
think the general like adrenaline, like that, just like that straight up adrenaline, like
Yeah,
you can get that from
I'm
being
hike a mountain.
yeah, just like extreme sports,
Go
just like
camping or something.
being healthy,
Or just like hunting an animal.
yeah,
Go hunt
which
an
is
animal.
legal, which is legal.
You can do that.
Yeah, man.
It's pretty good, rewarding
So you
experience.
get the tags and you're good to go.
Which it seems like this guy could have been a great hunter.
So at this point, this is kind of setting the stage for his final mistake, which would be the kidnapping and the murder of Samantha Koenig in Anchorage, which we covered right at the top. We didn't cover that. That's kind of the flavor of the thing, right?
Yeah. Mentioned.
So, which is to say, by choosing the murderous act of Samantha so close to home in Anchorage, and also of the victim tied to this well-monitored location, he opened himself up to surveillance, witness, and digital tracking. It was basically the beginning of the end for him, but in June 2011, none of that had happened yet. And in that moment, Israel was still in control and no one knew his name. Okay? And we're going to pick this up next episode to cover the rest of this, I think.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to do.
Part 2.
I have over half this left, and it's going to get even more grisly. I'm going to tell you
We
exactly
do-
what happens to Samantha.
Maybe Patreon it? True Crime Patreon?
You know what? Yeah. This'll
Check
okay.
out the
What's gonna happen
Patreon.
here, folks? Let's explain this out. I have a very gruesome, grisly, intense remainder of the story that you all are going to want to hear. This is going to go, the second part will go on Patreon for this month. I will say that I'm going to make the episode free to anybody that signs up. So you don't have to even pay, you just have to sign up for the Patreon, okay? That's what I'm going to do for y'all because I like you so much, because I do want you to hear this. But Dawson, you're absolutely right. Because this last episode we said that we're going to do true crime, and we said that basically because in the future all our true crime episodes, or at least a true crime episode, is going to be done by us each month on the Patreon instead of a 5th paranormal case. We might bring some true crime stuff under the main feed sometimes, but or even we'll just do it like this, where it's like the first half is here, the second half is
every
there.
true crime is like usually needs a couple hours. So
it really does.
Part 1, part 2.
I don't want to try to cram this into like an hour and 25 minutes or something. I just want to like give you each like about like an hour each about here. This guy, Israel Keys, though, maniac, dumbass, bitch.
You know what I think of him? I think he's a real jerk.
Yeah.
Real knucklehead.
Yeah. And I don't think Slipknot would like him.
No, I don't think Slipknot. I think ICP would maybe say, don't come to my shows.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Slipknot would be like, hey, don't come to my show.
Don't come to my show.
Stop listening to my music. You're not cool. Hey, man. Come to my show. Not cool, man.
So we got a lot more to cover here. Again, this isn't, I'm not trying to like trick y'all into paying any sort of thing. This is going to be free. By the way, the Patreon is worth it, and it's very cheap, and it helps us create all this stuff, and it keeps us going. Not to say you got to do it, but check out the Patreon for sure for the rest of this, okay?
Yeah.
So this first half was the build-up. We're going to get into the full Samantha Koenig story. Spoiler alert. She's kept in the freezer for multiple years, and they still think she's alive for a lot of that. And it's and we're gonna get into all that. We're gonna get into his eventual downfall. We're gonna get into the possible other murders that he had that would just weren't be able to, like
the non-confirmed
ones.
Most likely,
most likely, one of the non-confirmed ones is even somebody that was in the Special Olympics. Like, there's a lot of really horrible stuff going on here. And you're going to want to hear about it just to hear about how bad this man is. Again, that's going to be patreon.com/Pumpkin Hill Radio. It's going to be free. That'll go up hopefully live the same day and time that this is live. So if you're listening now, you can go right to the Patreon. And once you subscribe, you'll get like an RSS feed that you can either listen to it there, or you can put it onto any you could add the RSS feed to like an Apple Podcast or whatever if you wanted to listen to it on the same streaming service you had. But if you wanted to stream it right from the source, you can just do it from the Patreon. That's where the video will be, because the video will only be there. It won't be on the YouTube or anything. So I think y'all will really like the second half.
Yeah,
this has been so different and interesting for me to research.
Very horror.
I hope that I hope nobody's like upset we're doing this.
No,
I mean, you should be upset about the things I'm saying.
Yeah.
You should be upset, but.
Nah, I hope you like the show.
That we didn't take, this wasn't like a Sky Jellyfish episode this time.
Yeah.
Next week,
next week, baby. Hey,
we're going to talk a lot about dolphins.
Yeah. Get ready for what we think about dolphins.
So,
got a lot on dolphins.
So if this is like just driving you nuts, next week is going to be about dolphins. It's going to be crazy too, though. Yeah. Okay, that's one of the first Red Temple tapes I ever did was the dolphin alien connection. There's a whole lot of stuff. We're being kept away from our best friends,
our brothers in the sea.
Our brothers in the sea. Basically,
our underwater allies.
Our underwater allies. You're so right. Yeah, we're being kept away from our underwater allies. So we're gonna dig into all that next week. Again, if you're listening day of or at any point, you can just check the Patreon after this to get the part 2. You want this?
Yeah, you're gonna.
It's free. You want this?
If you like true crime, best true crime.
Join the cult again on Patreon, patreon.com/Pumpkin Hill Radio. You can also go to pumpkinhillradio.com to find all of our socials, find the links to everything, including the Patreon. You can sign up for the newsletter, the monthly newsletter that we do. You can send us your paranormal stories. You can email us about how sick this is. If you don't like it, please don't rate us any lower than 5 stars. Just email me, and we will just
talk shit.
But I hope I put enough warnings at the beginning, so if you really didn't want to hear this, you wouldn't have heard it. But I mean, we all love true crime, so what's the problem? I mean,
pretty much as soon as we start talking anything true crime, you're either gonna in it or you're not. You know.
Take a look around the Etsy store for pins, stickers, prints, and more. And use code SECRET for 25% off orders of $25 or more. that's basically it. We're
Yeah.
gonna go into this. We're gonna start recording the Patreon in a second, and we hope to see you all there.
Check out the diaries.
This is also
Check out the
check out
diaries on
Dawson's
YouTube. Check it
Diaries.
out.
We'll check out Chaos Control.
Going insane.
All kinds of other content
If you want
right
us
now.
to see the real madness,
Yes.
stuff that doesn't fit.
Yes. I would say Dawson's Diaries is our most unhinged program.
Yeah.
And Chaos Control is your source for weekly
Yeah.
paranormal high strangeness news that I also do some kind of reckless, thought experiments there as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, diving deep into.
Yes. So there's always more content to dig into, I'll
There's
say.
so much going on. But yeah. Check it out. Love you. Love you guys.
This is Dawson Trailer, Travis Wormwood.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.